Hisoka has always been one of my favorite characters from anything, let alone manga and anime. A lot of people will love him because of his crazy fighting style or unique design, or the fact that he's just so damn unpredictable. But I love him for a different reason. I love his motivation, his drive. Let me explain. Hisoka's drive is very simple. It is simply to fight strong people. But it goes beyond a simple hobby, and even goes further than characters like Kenpachi from Bleach. This drive, his drive, is a literal drive, a sexual drive. And before you click away and think I'm a weirdo, there's just no denying this. The man literally pops a boner when he's fighting strong opponents. Togashi went out of his way to make this very clear. And I find this fascinating. I want you to consider something for a second. We have all of these villains with very complex motives and stories, and that's all well and good. But when your motive is tied to a sexual drive being one of the most primal instincts in any living creature, that makes you a very dangerous individual. I want you to imagine something with me for a second here. Think back to all the times you've been incredibly sexually frustrated. Now imagine the only way that you could release that sexual frustration is by fighting strong opponents. You would be like Hisoka too. It's this that leads me to believe that Hisoka has some sort of condition where this is the only way that he's able to get off sexually. And because of this, every time he's on screen, I just find myself so drawn to him. Because I remember he's just doing this because it's what brings him pleasure. There's no fancy motive, there's no artifact to steal, there's no world to take over or realm to conquer. He's simply doing what he is doing to fill a desire. A primal desire that he cannot control. We see in the series that this desire is so out of control that he literally sets up opponents for himself multiple years in advance. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, wow, that makes him a dangerous psychopath, you're right! But what I'm about to tell you is that he is much more dangerous now than he has ever been. Moving on through the story, we see as he becomes so desperate for that release that he lets Chrollo, the man, mind you, that he spent around 3 years undercover in an organization just to get a chance to fight, completely pick the time and place and the circumstances for their battle.
Like a little bitch.
He had gotten to a point where he was so badly in need of that release that he completely submitted himself to Chrollo, and the consequences of this were dire. He gets completely decimated in this fight and almost dies. Now, it's very well accepted that the only reason he lost that battle is because everything was in favor of Chrollo. Chrollo went around preparing the exact Nen abilities and coming up with precise plans just to finally kill that thorn in his side. And he does. Temporarily, Hisoka is dead. Now, I need to do this quick aside because this will help you understand more of the point I'm attempting to make in this video. So here we see Togashi delve more into the concept of Nen becoming stronger after death. The first time we see this happen in the series is with Neferupitu, Neferupitu being a chimera ant. Ants are biologically born being loyal slaves to the queen/king, and chimera ants were ants with human personalities. These creatures were constantly fighting the two halves of the same whole of their brain. The side that wanted to be the individual, the human side, and the side that wanted that biologically told them to be obedient and work for the rest of the colony, the ant side. Long story short, when Neferupitu died, we are told by the narrator that Pitu's devotion to the king was so great that even after death, Trepaskora clad itself in even more powerful Nen, transforming Pitu into a corpse puppet ready to leap forward in pursuit of its prey, its sole purpose to kill Gon. Basically saying that very, very strong emotions can cause this to happen, this Nen becoming stronger after death phenomenon. Now, the only other time we see this in the series is with Hisoka. Just like with the ants and their biological need to obey the king, Hisoka's goal is a biological need, a sexual drive that he must fulfill. That drive that he has to fight strong opponents was so strong that he became only the second person in the entire story to have this phenomenon happen to him. Moving back to my main point, this near-death experience seems to have snapped something in Hisoka's mind. You see him explain it in words to Machi, saying, quote, "I guess fighting against someone of Chrollo's caliber, under his ideal conditions, was a bit more than I could chew. Reality sure knows how to give someone a wake-up call." She tries to tell him to learn his lesson and pick his battles more wisely, and he goes on to say that from now on, it's his opponents who won't be able to decide when or where they fight. And if this wasn't enough, immediately afterwards he shows it with his actions. He brutally murders Shalnark and Chrollo. Now you might be thinking, so what, he kills people all the time. But this is very different. After his devastating loss in near-death experience at the hands of Chrollo, Hisoka vows to never let his opponents take control ever again. And by killing these two, he did just that. In case you were unaware, at this moment, Shalnark and Chrollo do not have their Nen abilities. Hisoka, the man who until now thrived on fighting people at their very strongest, the man who was willing to watch over Gon for years to wait until his Nen is at its peak, and the man who, when given a chance to fight Chrollo in the Phantom Troop arc, denied that chance because he had no Nen. This is in direct contrast to what we see him doing here. He murders two people who he has been wanting to fight for years when they're at their weakest, no Nen, and with a surprise attack. That is no longer fighting for sport as he has done up until now. That is fighting to kill. Hisoka is no longer the man who gains sexual pleasure from fighting strong opponents. He is now a bona fide serial killer, and if that sexual desire for fighting transferred over to a sexual desire for killing, everyone on that ship is in for a world of trouble. Thank you so much for watching. This is the first time I've done a video in this style, and if you couldn't tell, I was inspired by the game theory style of editing. Please leave a comment below. I would love to hear your constructive criticism on what everyone liked and disliked about this video. I would also love to hear suggestions on what you would like me to discuss next. If you're finding this channel because of this video, please stick around because we do weekly manga discussions and theory videos, as well as having a bi-weekly podcast covering all things nerdy, and a bi-weekly series where we delve into death battles and debate who would win between two characters. And of course, I'll be doing videos like these monthly, so please stick around if you like what you see. Have a great day.